Taking full responsibility for your life is one of the most powerful and transformative choices you can make. It is the foundation of unshakable self-confidence because it puts you in the driver's seat of your own destiny. When you accept that everything in your life, your success, failures, habits, relationships, emotions, and even your thoughts, is in some way the result of your own actions, choices, or mindset, you reclaim control. That control is the birthplace of confidence. Without it, you're at the mercy of outside forces. With it, you begin to see that you have the power to shape your future. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's ever gone wrong. It's not about guilt or self-criticism. It's about ownership. It means acknowledging that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you are always responsible for how you respond. And more often than not, your response is what defines the outcome in the long run. When people avoid responsibility, they give away their power. They say things like, "It's not my fault," "Life is unfair," or "They did this to me." These phrases might feel true in the moment, but they rob you of agency. They keep you stuck. They make you feel like a victim of life rather than a creator of it. When you choose responsibility, you stop waiting for someone to come save you. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You stop blaming your parents, your boss, the government, or your past. You start asking better questions, like "What can I do about this?" or "What's within my control right now?" That mental shift is where confidence begins to grow. Because when you start solving your own problems, taking initiative, and creating progress in your life, even if it's small, you begin to build trust in yourself, and self-trust is the root of self-confidence. Every area of your life offers an opportunity to take greater responsibility. If your finances aren't where you want them to be, you can stop blaming the economy and start looking at how you manage money, what you know about personal finance, and what actions you can take today to improve. If your relationships are strained, you can stop pointing fingers and start examining how you communicate, what you expect, and how you show up for others. If you're not in good shape physically, you can stop making excuses and start taking small daily steps toward health. These changes might not be dramatic overnight, but each act of responsibility builds internal strength. It's easy to say you're responsible. Living it is harder. It requires brutal honesty. You have to face your shortcomings without flinching. You have to own the times you didn't follow through, made poor decisions, or avoided hard truths. But with that honesty comes freedom, because the moment you own it, you can change it. You're no longer trapped by excuses. You're free to act, and with every action, confidence grows. Taking responsibility also requires that you stop seeking validation or approval for everything you do. When you're truly responsible, you're not acting to please others or to gain their recognition. You're acting because you know what needs to be done. You stop outsourcing your self-worth to the opinions of others. That makes you stronger, more grounded, and more resilient. Because when your confidence is built on internal responsibility rather than external praise, it becomes unshakable. You no longer need others to prop you up. You've built a foundation within yourself. Another part of personal responsibility is owning your mindset. Most people don't realize how much control they have over their thoughts. They believe they're at the mercy of negative thinking, self-doubt, or worry. But those patterns are choices, and like any habit, they can be changed. When you take responsibility for your mental state, you stop letting fear or anxiety dictate your behavior. You start choosing more empowering perspectives. You might not be able to eliminate all negative thoughts, but you can choose which ones you dwell on. That's a responsibility too, and a powerful one. One of the most liberating realizations you can have is that you don't need anyone's permission to start living differently. The moment you decide to take full ownership of your life is the moment your confidence begins to rise. Because you are no longer waiting, you are leading. You are no longer passive, you are proactive. And each day you act from that place, you build more strength, more clarity, and more certainty in yourself. Of course, taking full responsibility doesn't mean being harsh with yourself. You can be responsible and still be kind. You can admit where you've fallen short while still believing in your potential to improve. In fact, real responsibility is deeply compassionate. It's an act of self-love. It says, I care enough about myself and my life to do what needs to be done. It's not about punishment, it's about progress. This mindset doesn't just change your inner world, it changes how others see you. People respect those who take ownership. They trust people who are accountable. They admire those who don't blame or complain, but instead take action and lead. When you live with this kind of responsibility, your confidence isn't just felt by you. It's noticed by everyone around you. It becomes part of your presence, your reputation, your influence. Building unshakable self. Confidence doesn't come from external achievements alone. It comes from the quiet, daily act of taking ownership of your thoughts, your habits, your growth, and your outcomes. It's a choice you make again and again, especially when it's hard. And every time you choose it, you strengthen your identity as someone who can handle life, someone who can rise, adapt, overcome, and lead. That's real power. That's the kind of confidence that can't be taken away. Setting clear, personal goals is a powerful step toward building unshakable self-confidence. When you have a specific destination in mind, your actions gain purpose and direction. You move from drifting aimlessly to steering your life with intent. Clarity breeds confidence because it removes uncertainty. It lets you know exactly what you're working toward, and that alone builds momentum. Without clear goals, it's easy to feel stuck, overwhelmed, or discouraged. You might work hard, but without knowing why or where you're headed, progress feels hollow. Goals act as a compass, guiding your choices and helping you measure real growth. The most effective goals are personal. They reflect what matters to you, not what your parents expect, not what society glamorizes, not what your peers are doing. When a goal aligns with your own values, dreams, and sense of purpose, it fuels genuine motivation. You don't have to force yourself to care. You're pulled forward by desire and meaning. That deep personal connection is what sustains you through setbacks, fatigue, or failure. It reminds you why you started and what's at stake if you give up. Personal goals also increase confidence because they affirm your autonomy. You're not just following someone else's path. You're building your own. Clarity is essential. Vague goals don't inspire action. Saying, I want to be successful, or I want to be happier, is a start, but it's not enough. You need to define what success and happiness mean for you. Do you want to start your own business, learn a new skill, improve your health, repair a relationship, travel, write, speak, teach, create, or lead? Get specific. Instead of I want to get in shape, say I want to be able to run 5 miles without stopping within 3 months. That clarity gives your mind a clear target to aim for. It tells your brain, this is real, this is what we're doing. Once you've defined your goals, break them into smaller, measurable steps. Big goals are motivating, but they can also feel intimidating. Confidence grows when you start taking consistent action, no matter how small. If you want to write a book, start with writing for 30 minutes a day. If you want to start a business, begin by researching your market or building a simple product. Small wins build self-trust. They show you that you're capable, disciplined, and moving forward, and each win becomes a building block in your confidence. You stop seeing yourself as someone who only dreams and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Another key to building confidence through goal setting is creating structure. Without structure, even the best goals lose momentum. That structure might look like a written plan, a calendar, a checklist, or a daily habit. When you have a system, you reduce decision fatigue and increase focus. You don't wake up wondering what to do. You already know. That certainty frees up mental energy and reinforces the belief that you're serious about your growth. Confidence comes from seeing yourself act with intention. Systems make that possible day after day. Accountability can also help you stay on track. When your goals stay hidden in your head, it's easy to ignore them. But when you speak them out loud, write them down, or share them with someone you trust, they become real. They carry weight. Accountability doesn't mean depending on someone else to push you. It means creating stakes for yourself. Maybe you journal your progress, track your habits, or reflect weekly. Maybe you check in with a mentor, a friend, or a group. Whatever the method, the act of regularly reviewing your goals keeps them alive. It reminds you of your commitment and shows you how far you've come. Of course, not every step will go perfectly. Challenges are part of the journey. That's why having clear goals is even more important. When things get hard, your goals remind you what matters. They give you something to hold on to when motivation fades, and when you overcome those challenges, when you keep going despite difficulty, you build more than progress. You build character. You prove to yourself that you can stay committed even when it's uncomfortable. That's a huge confidence booster, because real confidence isn't about being certain you'll win every time. It's about knowing you'll keep showing up no matter what. Your goals should also grow with you. As you learn, evolve, and change, your goals should reflect that. What inspired you last year may not excite you now. That's okay. Part of taking ownership of your growth is being honest about what you want today. Adjusting your goals isn't a failure. It's a sign of maturity. It means you're paying attention to your life. You're not blindly following a plan. You're actively shaping it. And that kind of conscious living is what builds deep, lasting confidence. You're not just reacting, you're creating. Another benefit of clear, personal goals is the way they shape your identity. Every time you pursue a goal that reflects your true values, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who honors yourself. You begin to see yourself as capable, focused, disciplined, and worthy. That shift in self-image is powerful. When your identity aligns with your actions, you stop doubting yourself. You stop feeling like a fraud. You know who you are, and that knowledge becomes your foundation. There's also something deeply energizing about living with purpose. When your days are guided by clear goals, you feel more alive. You're not just going through the motions. You're moving towards something. That sense of progress, however small, brings meaning and joy. It reminds you that your life matters, and when you feel that sense of meaning, confidence follows. Because confidence isn't just about skills or success. It's about feeling that your life is aligned with your truth. So much of the anxiety and self-doubt people feel comes from a lack of direction. When you don't know what you're working toward, it's easy to second-guess yourself. It's easy to feel lost, but the moment you set a goal that's clear, personal, and meaningful, the fog begins to lift. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop chasing empty rewards. You start building something real, step by step, day by day. There's no shortcut to confidence, but when you set clear, personal goals and commit to them, you create a path you can walk with pride. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait for opportunities. You create them. You don't wish for change, you build it, and as that mindset takes root, your confidence becomes unshakable because it's no longer based on luck, talent, or validation. It's built on action, purpose, and truth. Developing competence through daily discipline is one of the most reliable and lasting ways to build unshakable self-confidence. Confidence doesn't come from wishing or waiting. It comes from doing, and doing over time creates skill. When you commit to disciplined effort each day, you begin to build something far more powerful than a temporary boost in motivation. You build a foundation of real ability, and with that ability comes the quiet, steady belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. Confidence is not something you're born with, it's earned. It grows through effort, through repetition, through focus. Every expert started as a beginner. The difference between someone who is confident and someone who is unsure often comes down to how consistently they've shown up for themselves over time. When you put in the work, when you study your craft, when you practice with intention, you start to see progress. And that progress is where confidence begins to bloom, because you're not guessing, you're not faking. You know, deep down, that you've earned your place through effort. Daily discipline is what transforms potential into power. Everyone has potential. What sets people apart is how they use it. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It means making your growth a non-negotiable part of your life. Not once in a while, not when it's easy, but every single day. That kind of consistency is rare, and that's why it's so powerful. It trains your mind to prioritize long-term rewards over short-term comfort. And that mental shift alone changes how you see yourself. You start to become someone who doesn't wait for the right mood or perfect circumstances. You become someone who acts. There's a deep sense of pride that comes from showing up every day. Even when the results are slow, even when the progress feels invisible, because you know something that others don't. You know that every drop adds up. Every small action, repeated daily, builds momentum. Whether you're learning a language, developing a career skill, training your body, or mastering an instrument, the formula is the same. Show up, do the work, and trust the process. That trust is what allows you to keep going even when motivation fades. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Daily discipline also teaches you to be patient with yourself. You stop expecting instant results. You understand that growth takes time and that every mistake is part of the journey. That mindset frees you from the fear of failure. You're no longer crushed by setbacks because you know they don't define you. What defines you is your ability to keep going, and every time you persist through difficulty, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, resilient, and focused. That belief becomes your confidence. It's not loud or showy, it's quiet and unshakable. Another benefit of daily discipline is that it builds structure into your life. When you commit to certain habits or practices, your days begin to take on a rhythm. You eliminate decision fatigue. You don't have to wonder whether or not you're going to work on your goals. You just do it. That structure provides clarity and focus, which in turn enhances your productivity. And with that productivity comes a sense of control. You begin to feel that you are not at the mercy of chaos or distraction. You're in charge. That control is another source of confidence because it proves to you that your environment doesn't define you. Your habits do. It's also important to understand that discipline is a form of self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, you send a message to your brain that your goals matter, that you matter. Every time you say no to a distraction and yes to your growth, you build trust in yourself. That self-trust is the root of confidence, because when you trust yourself to follow through, to endure discomfort, to stick to the plan, you stop relying on external validation. You no longer need others to approve of your efforts because you've already earned your own respect. Confidence gained through daily effort also improves how you perform under pressure. When you've practiced something 1,000 times, you don't freeze when it's time to perform. You act, you execute. And that ability to deliver, especially when it counts, is one of the most empowering feelings in the world. You know you can count on yourself. You're not hoping to be lucky. You're relying on preparation. That's why the most confident people are often the most disciplined. Their calmness isn't arrogance, it's the result of countless hours of unseen work. This process isn't always glamorous, in fact it's often boring. Discipline is rarely exciting in the moment. It's showing up to write when you don't feel creative. It's going to the gym when you're tired. It's studying when you'd rather scroll. But over time, that discipline changes you. It rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who gives up or needs motivation. You become someone who gets things done. That identity shift is subtle, but it's everything, because confidence isn't about pretending you're perfect. It's about knowing you're consistent. Even when things go wrong, discipline gives you a way forward. You may lose momentum, face obstacles, or make mistakes, but the habit of daily effort remains. You can always return to it. You can always rebuild. That reliability is comforting. It reminds you that no matter how far you fall, you have the tools to rise again. Discipline becomes your anchor in chaos, and that, too, builds confidence. You know you have a foundation that can't be shaken by external setbacks. To develop discipline, start small. Pick one habit, one action. Do it every day, no matter what. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for perfection. Just begin. The point isn't to do something heroic. It's to show yourself that you can follow through. Once that habit is solid, add another. Bit by bit, your life begins to transform, not through massive change, but through steady progress, and with every step, your competence grows, your skills improve, your focus sharpens, and your confidence deepens. Confidence isn't a gift, it's a result. It's the result of disciplined action taken day after day in pursuit of meaningful growth. It's the quiet certainty that comes from knowing you've earned your strength. It's the peace that comes from effort well spent, and it's the fire that grows when you see yourself rise through your own dedication. When you build competence through daily discipline, you're not just getting better at something, you're becoming someone. Someone capable, someone focused, someone unshakable. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is one of the most powerful ways to build and sustain unshakable self-confidence. The people, environments, and inputs you allow into your life have a direct impact on how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Human beings are social by nature, and we are constantly shaped by those around us, often in ways we don't even notice. When you choose to spend time with individuals who uplift you, believe in you, challenge you to grow, and reflect the kind of mindset you want to have, you naturally begin to rise to a higher standard. You start to see what's possible for your life because you're witnessing it in real time through the people close to you. Negative influences, on the other hand, drain your energy and erode your confidence. If you're constantly surrounded by people who doubt your abilities, complain about life, or belittle ambition, it becomes incredibly difficult to stay positive and focused. Even if you have strong inner drive, the constant pull of negativity around you can chip away at your belief in yourself. You may start to question your goals or downplay your dreams to fit in. Over time, you internalize those limiting beliefs, not because they're true, but because they're familiar. That's why who you spend your time with matters so much. It shapes your identity and the narrative you believe about what's possible. Confidence is not just an internal state, it's also relational. Being in a supportive environment accelerates your personal growth. When you have people who encourage you when you're down, celebrate your progress, and hold you accountable to your potential, it reinforces the belief that you're capable. It helps you stay on track during hard times. These people don't let you settle. They remind you of your strengths, even when you've temporarily forgotten them. They don't try to fix your problems for you, but they stand beside you while you solve them. That kind of support strengthens your resilience, and with resilience comes deeper confidence. The right people also inspire you through example. They live with integrity, purpose, and passion. They chase their goals and take responsibility for their lives. Being around them naturally pushes you to do the same, not because they pressure you, but because excellence is contagious. When you see someone else committing to their path, it wakes something up in you. It makes you want to rise to that level. It makes you realize that confidence isn't some magical trait. They built it, and so can you. Being in the presence of such people rewires your expectations of yourself. Sometimes surrounding yourself with positive influences means making hard choices. It means letting go of relationships that no longer serve you. That doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. It just means you're serious about your growth. If someone constantly doubts you, manipulates you, or diminishes your energy, you have to protect your space. It doesn't always require a dramatic exit. Sometimes it just means creating emotional or physical distance. You're not obligated to carry the weight of someone else's negativity. Your confidence is too valuable to be constantly battling environments that tear you down. Boundaries are not selfish. They are a form of self-respect. In addition to people, your environment also includes the media you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the routines you follow. If your daily input is filled with drama, fear, or criticism, it subtly influences your mindset. You may not notice it at first, but over time it shapes your inner dialogue. On the other hand, if you consistently feed your mind with ideas that challenge you to grow, perspectives that expand your understanding, and stories that reflect resilience, your internal world begins to shift. Confidence grows when your mental space is clean, focused, and inspired. Creating a circle of positive influence doesn't happen by accident. It requires intention. You have to seek out relationships and environments that support the person you are becoming. This might mean joining a community of like-minded individuals, finding a mentor, attending events that spark your curiosity, or having deeper conversations with people who share your values. You might need to be the one to initiate these connections. It takes effort, but it's worth it, because every time you step into a room or into a conversation that elevates you, you strengthen the version of yourself that you're trying to become. One of the most underrated aspects of positive influence is that it works both ways. As you grow and develop your own confidence, you become a source of support and inspiration for others. You start to influence your environment instead of being controlled by it. You lift others up, and in doing so, you reinforce your own growth. That reciprocal energy creates a cycle of mutual empowerment. Everyone benefits. Your confidence is no longer just about you. It becomes a force that others can feel and learn from. Sometimes you won't find the perfect circle right away. You may feel isolated as you distance yourself from old patterns or people. That space can feel lonely, but it's also where clarity is born. In those moments, you start to hear your own voice more clearly. You start to rebuild your identity on purpose, not out of habit, and eventually that clarity draws in people who resonate with your energy. You find or create the community that supports your next level. The key is to stay committed during that transition. Know that by choosing positive influence, you are investing in a stronger, more confident version of yourself. Confidence is deeply connected to the quality of your surroundings. When you are lifted instead of judged, encouraged instead of dismissed, and challenged instead of coddled, you grow. You start to take risks, speak up, try new things, and believe more in your ability to navigate life. You become more grounded because you have a solid network that reflects your values and mirrors your strength. That kind of support doesn't remove all fear, but it reminds you that you're not alone, and that reminder is often all you need to take the next step with courage. Ultimately, surrounding yourself with positive influences is about choosing alignment over approval. It's about curating a life that supports your highest potential. It's about being honest about what helps you grow and having the courage to let go of what doesn't. When you choose people and environments that reflect the confidence, clarity, and values you aspire to, you create a powerful feedback loop. Your mindset improves, your habits solidify, and your sense of self deepens. And from that place, your confidence becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes who you are. Feeding your mind with uplifting input is a powerful and often underestimated way to develop deep, lasting self-confidence. Your thoughts are shaped by what you regularly consume, and those thoughts ultimately influence your emotions, behaviors, and identity. If you constantly absorb negativity, fear, or cynicism, your internal world will mirror those qualities. But if you intentionally nourish your mind with positive, empowering, and growth-focused input, you begin to create a mental environment that fosters strength, resilience, and confidence. Just like the body needs nutritious food to thrive, the mind needs intentional input to stay sharp, hopeful, and energized. The world is filled with information, but not all of it is helpful. Much of it is designed to stir anxiety, comparison, and self-doubt. If you wake up and immediately scroll through a feed full of conflict, criticism, or empty distractions, you start your day with mental clutter. You might not realize the effect immediately, but it accumulates. Over time, your mind becomes reactive instead of proactive, anxious instead of focused. That noise drowns out your inner voice and replaces it with a constant buzz of worry or inadequacy. To build confidence, you have to take back control of what enters your mind. You have to become intentional about choosing input that strengthens, not weakens, your mental state. Uplifting input can take many forms: books, podcasts, music, conversations, environments, even the quiet moments you spend in reflection or gratitude. When you expose yourself to ideas that inspire growth, perseverance, and courage, you start to internalize those messages. They become part of your mental toolkit. In difficult moments, you'll hear those positive echoes in your mind, reminding you of your worth, your potential, and your power. That reinforcement makes it easier to face challenges, take risks, and trust yourself, because you're not just reacting to the world, you're building an inner world that supports you. Books are one of the most effective ways to feed your mind with empowering ideas. When you read the words of people who have overcome adversity, achieved greatness, or mastered their mindset, you begin to shift your own standards. You see what's possible. You learn how others have dealt with failure, fear, and self-doubt, and how they came out stronger. Their stories become fuel, and even if you don't consciously memorize what you read, the messages begin to settle in your subconscious. They shape how you see the world and yourself. Reading even a few pages a day of a thoughtful, meaningful book can gradually rewire your thinking in a profound way. Podcasts and audiobooks are another powerful tool, especially for those who are on the move or short on time. Whether you're commuting, exercising, or doing chores, you can use that time to immerse yourself in conversations and ideas that elevate your perspective. Instead of allowing your thoughts to wander into worry or negativity, you can intentionally guide your attention toward learning and encouragement. When you listen to people who speak with conviction, wisdom, or insight, you absorb some of that energy. It strengthens your own voice, and the more often you hear empowering messages, the more naturally you begin to speak them to yourself. Music also holds immense influence over your mental and emotional state. Uplifting music can energize you, lift your spirits, and help you tap into a more confident version of yourself. Whether it's the lyrics, the rhythm, or the memories it evokes, music can shift your entire state of being in moments. Creating playlists that motivate or calm you can be a simple yet effective way to manage your mindset throughout the day. Sound is powerful. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to emotion. When used intentionally, it becomes a tool for strengthening your emotional resilience and focus. Conversations are another key source of input that either fuel your confidence or drain it. The words spoken by the people around you often echo in your mind long after the conversation ends. That's why it's important to seek out relationships where the dialogue is constructive, encouraging, and growth-oriented. That doesn't mean everything has to be overly cheerful or fake. It means surrounding yourself with people who speak with intention, who challenge you to rise, who believe in your potential even when you doubt it. These conversations serve as mirrors, showing you who you are and what you're capable of becoming. Even your own internal dialogue is a form of input. The thoughts you repeat to yourself matter. Many people develop patterns of negative self-talk without even realizing it. They rehearse thoughts like "I'm not good enough," "I'll probably fail," or "I'm too late." And those thoughts eventually become beliefs. But with awareness, you can disrupt that pattern. You can start to notice when your mind is feeding you limiting messages, and you can replace them with more truthful, empowering ones. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Your words carry weight. Make sure they're working for you, not against you. Reflection and solitude are also forms of input, though they may not seem like it at first. When you take quiet time for yourself, you give your mind space to process, integrate, and reset. You can use this time to journal, meditate, or simply sit in silence. These moments help you reconnect with your values, goals, and vision. They clear away the noise and help you hear your own wisdom more clearly. In a world full of constant input, intentional silence is an act of power. It allows you to become the curator of your thoughts instead of a passive recipient of outside noise. The cumulative effect of uplifting input is that it gradually changes the way you see yourself and your place in the world. It helps you shift from fear to hope, from doubt to belief, from hesitation to action. Over time, you start to carry a reservoir of strength within you, one that isn't easily shaken by setbacks or criticism. Because you've fed your mind with the kind of messages that reinforce your worth, your purpose, and your capacity to overcome. Building self-confidence is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. And one of the most important parts of that practice is choosing what you allow into your mental space. You have more control over that than you may think. You don't have to absorb every message the world throws at you. You can pause, evaluate, and choose what you want to believe. When you consistently feed your mind with truth, beauty, strength, and possibility, you start to live from those qualities. Your confidence stops depending on external approval and starts flowing from within. You become the kind of person who doesn't just react to life. You create it. And it all begins with what you allow into your mind each day. Acting in spite of fear or doubt is the defining habit of confident people. It's not that they never feel uncertain or afraid, it's that they move forward anyway. They understand that fear and doubt are part of growth, not signs that something is wrong. Waiting to feel completely ready or fearless before taking action is a trap that holds many people back from ever making meaningful progress. The truth is that if you only act when you feel 100% sure, you'll miss most of your opportunities. Confidence doesn't come first. Courage does, and courage is the decision to act even when your mind is uncertain. Fear is a natural response to the unknown. It's a survival mechanism designed to protect you from danger. But in modern life, most of what we fear isn't physically harmful. It's emotional risk. Rejection, judgment, failure, embarrassment. These fears are real, but they're not fatal. Yet they often stop people in their tracks. The moment discomfort appears, the mind races to justify inaction. It says you're not ready, you're not good enough, you'll probably fail. And the longer you listen to those voices without challenging them, the stronger they become. But when you act despite those voices, they begin to lose their power. Every time you take a step forward in the presence of fear, you teach your mind that you're capable of more than it thinks. Doubt often shows up alongside fear. Doubt whispers that you're not qualified, that you're an imposter, that success is for other people, not you. But doubt, like fear, isn't proof of truth. It's just a signal that you're stretching beyond your comfort zone. In fact, the presence of doubt is often a good sign. It means you're growing, you're aiming for something meaningful, you're pushing against the edge of what you've done before. The key is not to eliminate doubt entirely, but to stop letting it be the decision maker. You can acknowledge the feeling without giving it control. Action is how you reclaim that power. When you act in spite of fear or doubt, you begin to gather real evidence of your capability. You discover that most of the terrible things you imagine don't actually happen. And even if things don't go perfectly, you survive, you learn, you get stronger. Over time, your confidence grows. Not because you've eliminated fear, but because you've proven to yourself that fear doesn't control you. That shift is transformational. Instead of waiting for certainty, you begin to create it. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, what if I figure it out? One of the best ways to build the habit of acting through fear is to start small. You don't need to make huge, dramatic leaps right away. Begin with low-stakes actions that stretch you slightly beyond your comfort zone. Have the difficult conversation. Raise your hand in the meeting. Share your idea. Apply for the opportunity. Speak up. These little acts of bravery, done consistently, create a momentum that gradually changes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes action, not someone who waits. That self-image becomes the root of authentic confidence. Another powerful practice is to reframe fear as fuel. Instead of seeing it as a warning to stop, see it as a signal that you're on the edge of growth. If something scares you but also excites you, it's probably worth pursuing. The nerves you feel are not weakness. They're a sign that you care. They're energy, and that energy can be directed toward focus, presence, and action. The goal is not to be fearless, but to use your fear wisely, to let it sharpen your attention and make you more intentional, not paralyzed. It's also helpful to separate the fear of doing something from the actual experience of doing it. Most of the fear we feel lives in anticipation, not reality. The buildup in your mind is often worse than the thing itself. But once you start moving, fear begins to fade. Action creates clarity. It grounds you in the present moment. It gives you feedback, data, and direction. You realize that fear was just a fog, something that seemed big until you walked through it. The more you practice stepping into action, the more you shorten the distance between feeling fear and doing the thing anyway. You can also build a powerful mindset by focusing on purpose over comfort. When your reason for acting is stronger than your fear, action becomes more natural. If you're deeply connected to why something matters, whether it's your growth, your family, your mission, or your future, then fear becomes just another obstacle to overcome. It doesn't go away, but it gets outweighed by something greater. That's why confident people are often driven by clear values or vision. They don't need to feel perfect before they move. They just need to remember what they're moving toward. Visualization can help as well. Before stepping into a fearful situation, take a moment to mentally rehearse success. Picture yourself acting with calm, clarity, and confidence. Feel the emotions of follow-through. Imagine handling challenges with grace. This primes your mind for the experience you want, rather than letting it spiral into anxiety. Visualization doesn't remove fear completely, but it gives your brain a better blueprint to follow. It helps you remember that you've already walked through this in your mind and now you're ready to do it for real. Support also plays a critical role. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage bold action makes it easier to move forward. When others believe in you, it's easier to believe in yourself. They remind you that fear is normal and that courage is always within reach. Whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a community, having someone who pushes you toward action instead of validating your excuses is invaluable. Their support doesn't remove fear, but it helps you rise above it. Ultimately, acting in spite of fear or doubt is how you expand your world. Every time you do something uncomfortable, your comfort zone stretches. What once felt intimidating starts to feel familiar. Your courage muscles grow. You develop a kind of inner freedom, the ability to choose action even in the presence of discomfort, and that freedom is the foundation of unshakable confidence. Because now you trust yourself, you know you'll show up, you know you'll take the next step, and that trust, built through action, is more valuable than any temporary feeling of certainty. So don't wait to be fearless. Don't wait to be perfect. Take the step, make the call, say yes, lean in. Do it afraid if you have to, because on the other side of fear is not just success, it's transformation. It's the version of you who doesn't hesitate, who believes, who leads, who thrives. And the only way to meet that version of yourself is to act right now, even if your voice shakes and your hands tremble. That's how confidence is born, not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of action.